Hey guys, welcome back to another action figure review. Today we're taking a look at some more Mythic Legions from the All-Star 5 wave, this time checking out Ilgarr. On the back of the box we have the Ilithia wave artwork featuring Queen Ilithia herself, with a few small pictures on the side of new characters in this wave. Underneath we have a few short paragraphs on the lore of Mythic Legions. On the side we have a small picture of Ilgarr, with a small bit of lore on the character written underneath. Mythic Legions come in easy to remove collector-friendly packaging, and now it seems that the accessories come in their own zip-locked bags. You can remove the figure completely without having to tear any of the package open. First released back in 2016, Ilgarr was part of the first expansion to Mythic Legions, known as the 1.5 wave, that introduced new characters created by using existing parts. After 4 waves of All-Star fan votes, Ilgarr finally made it into the 5th All-Star wave, receiving his first re-release. When Ilgarr was alive, he was known as the most notorious warrior from the frozen northern kingdom of Vikenfell for his brutal savagery. Not even death could stop the great warrior as he struck a deal with one of the sons of Necronominus, Malus. He was to be resurrected as an undead skeletal version of his former self. Now imbued with more dark power, Ilgarr is even more bloodthirsty than ever before. Let's take a look at some details. A black skull textured with the rusty corroded effect, with the effect pulling into the eyes and nose sockets of the skull. A few small cracks, holes, and scratches are highlighted by the bright corroded effect. On the side we have a better view of all the details in the sculpt of the skull. Large cracks wrap around the bone, with even more of that rust corrosion filling in the gaps. We also have a better look at the skeletal neck peg, seen only on skeletons. Older 1.0 style chest armor is used here, a very common style that has its own unique look thanks to the bronze and orange paint scheme. It's covered in a bluish gray wash, giving it a dusty, ghostly appearance. The back has a cleaner and similar look to the front of the armor, only flat, and with sockets for the shoulder armor and back adapters. Small plates of armor are stacked on top of each other, protecting the shoulder, matching the orange and bronze colors of the chest plate. We have a bit of wash on the armor, only covering half of the armor here. Underneath we have the skeletal arms of the figure, matching the color of the skull, a black corroded effect showing off scratches, holes, and cracks in the bone. Bronze gauntlets protect the forearms and hands of the figure, in a heavy plated style of armor, detailed with orange and silver stripes, and a bit of that ghostly wash filling in the gaps of the armor. A large metal belt is worn at the waist, bronze with a heavy coat of that ghostly spectral wash effect. Underneath we have 2 large decorative plates matching the design of the chest armor, orange and silver patterns stacked on top of each other. 2 leather loops hang down from each side of the belt to hold up weapons. The large metal belt continues all around the body, with only a small plate covering up the backside with more of that orange and silver pattern here. Underneath the belt armor we have a better look at the skeletal thighs. Large black bones with a corroded effect that makes the bone look well worn out. Heavy armored boots reach up to the knees, and heavy plates of armor stacked on top of each other. Decorative plates, small fins, and silver rivets detail the armor here, with even more of that spectral wash applied more heavily in this area. We wrap up taking a look at the details with the boots of the figure. The standard 1.0 knight boots are being used here, metal plates that stack on top of each other with rivets connecting them together, with a heavy coat of that ghostly wash effect. Let's take a look at the articulation. We have a ball joint at the head. The armor at the shoulder is made of a soft plastic that can bend easily, so the shoulders can fully open and rotate all around. Elbows that bend 90 degrees and rotate. We have rotation at the forearm. Wrists that bend up and down and rotate. 1.0 figures have no chest joint, only a ball joint at the waist. Legs that can fully open and bend forward and back with great range. But skeletons also don't have any thigh rotation built into the skeletal thighs. Knees that bend back and rotate. Ankles that bend up and down and rotate. And the foot that twist. Ilgarr, being a classic 1.0 style figure, has the bulky body that we're all used to from Mythic Legions. Standing here with the newly updated Skeleton Legion builder, we can see that they share similar parts and height. Next to the 2.0 style of skeletons, we can see that they're much smaller, unique in use of parts, but overall stand at the similar scale of Mythic Legions. Next to Hasbro's 6-inch scale of figures, we can see how Mythic Legions are just a bit taller than the average 6-inch size. And just to compare them to the 7-inch scale of figures, we have a few McFarlane figures to get a better idea of how Mythic Legion scales up to the larger figures. We get a pair of bronze shoulder armor in the orcish style with a bit of that ghostly wash on it. While normally we would have to heat up the pegs in this wave, the older bulky chest armor didn't require me to heat up the socket, able to peg the armor in easily. We also have a bit of rotation here for more shoulder range. We get a dwarven style alternate head in matching armor colors and the grey beard. We have a pair of finely detailed wings to attach to the helmet. The wings can be pegged into the large sockets on the side of the helmet, even able to rotate afterwards. Once complete, you can easily pop off the default skull head and use a bit of force to place the alternate head onto the figure. The dwarven style of armor matches the bronze, orange, and silver style as the rest of the armor. We have a large grey beard sculpted underneath the helmet, finely detailed with strands of hairs, curls, and braids in the sculpting. We have a wooden round shield, sculpted with wood grain textures and battle damage. On the back, we have the newer 2.0 style of grip instead of the old clips. We have a one-handed axe with a wooden handle and a dark steel blade. A generic 1.0 style short sword, but this one is painted with a corroded effect. A bronze 1.0 style generic dagger. And the standard 1.0 style belt made to fit the larger bodies. While Ilgarr is one of the older figures in the toy line, much more simple than the new figures we're getting now, there's always a place for the classic figures in my collection. Personally, Ilgarr was one of my holy grails of action figures, as I missed the pre-order way back then only because he originally was displayed with this dwarven helmet, and at the time I only wanted to collect skeletons. The All-Star series is a great way to pick up some classic figures, especially if you're into the lore of Mythic Legions, as a few of them are extremely important to the story. Ilgarr might not have the latest designs or accessories to be competitive enough with the new releases, but if you had to hand it to Four Horsemen Studios, who can still make a figure look completely unique on paint design alone. With an alternate head, shoulder armor, and 4 weapons, Ilgarr is packed with accessories, something that wasn't really common back then. The one-handed axe and shield were pretty rare back then. Normally we would only get the generic swords, spears, and daggers to go with almost every figure, so even now Ilgarr still feels like a great value. Compared to the original Ilgarr, there's going to be a bit of variance in the effect of the paint, especially the dusty, ghosty glow that's washed all over the figure. The original releases looked a lot more dusty than this All-Star 5 release. Ilgarr is a great skeleton to add to the Legions released so far. While Four Horsemen Studios continues to improve on the sculpting and accessories, especially now as they're currently experimenting with cloth now, it's always a nice option to be able to go back and collect some of the classic figures that started it all. While part reuse might make some collectors opt to pass on Ilgarr, Four Horsemen have always been great in making every figure feel unique with its amazing use of paint and effects. Ilgarr is personally one of my favorite skeletons, and I'm glad I'm finally able to get one in my hands without having to pay extreme third-party cost. He's definitely worth picking up, a unique looking skeleton that would make a great enemy in anyone's collection. Alright guys, that's it for this review. Leave a comment letting me know how you like this figure, subscribe, or share this video with your friends to help out the channel.